There are two types of variables, the independent and dependent variables. As you can see, we have differentiate the dependent from independent variables. So let us first tackle the definition of dependent and independent variables. So independent variable, it is the variable that is systematically manipulated by the investigator. An independent variable is exactly what it sounds like. It is a variable that stands alone and is not changed by the other variables you are trying to measure. And we have here provided example for you to distinguish what is the independent variable from the statements given, of course, in the field of statistics or in research. For example, someone's age might be an independent variable. Other factors such as what they eat, how much they go to school, how much television they watch are not going to change a person's age. In fact, when you are looking for some kind of relationship between variables, you are trying to see if the independent variable causes some kind of change in the other variables or dependent variables. So I hope you already instilled in your minds what is independent variable and its key terms that you will not be confused of identifying independent variable. Of course, we have another variable, the dependent variable. If we have here an independent variable, we have of course the dependent variable. So what is the meaning of dependent variable? Dependent variable is the variable that the investigator measures to determine the effect of the independent variable. Just like an independent variable, a dependent variable is exactly what it sounds like. It is something that depends on other factors. And of course, we have here an example. A test score could be a dependent variable because it could change depending on several factors, such as how much you studied, how much sleep you got the night before you took the test, or even how hungry you were when you took it. Usually, when you are looking for a relationship between two things, you are trying to find out what makes the dependent variable change the way it does. So the best way to understand the difference between a dependent and independent variable is that the meaning of each is implied by what the words tell us about the variable you are using. So we have here a table. We have here the cause effect. We have here the term manipulated and measured. So let us not forget with this table that the independent variable is the cause and that is manipulated, while the dependent variable is what you call the effect and is measured. Many people have trouble remembering which is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable. So an easy way to remember is to insert the names of the two variables you are using in this sentence in the way that makes the most sense. Then you can figure out which is the independent variable and which is the dependent variable. Say for instance, independent variable causes a change in dependent variable, and it is not possible that dependent variable could cause a change in independent variable. So I will provide you an example. So the time spent studying causes a change in test score, and it is not possible that the test score could cause a change in time spent studying. So we see that the time spent studying must be the independent variable and the test score must be the dependent variable because the sentence doesn't make sense the other way around. Yeah, so we had really spent time on our discussion just in the basic and crucial statistical terms. And to know about more, let us proceed now to the definition of data. So data are the facts and figures that are collected, analyzed, and summarized for presentation and interpretation. Data may be classified as either quantitative or qualitative. As shown, we have here the table or the types of data, the qualitative data and the quantitative data. As in the following, we have here the names as John, Patricia, Mary, the smell, the aromatic buttery, colors like green, white, and blue, and is under the qualitative data. While in the quantitative data, we have here, of course, an example, scores on exam, the weight of a person or a subject, or shoe size. So what do you think is the differences of the qualitative from the quantitative? And what do you think is the mere definition of these two? So let us see and find out. In quantitative data, it deals with numbers and things you can measure objectively. These are data that usually express in numerical values or obtained by counting or measuring. And of course, we have here provided example for you to distinguish what is quantitative data. We have here a phrase 3 feet long. Of course, it tackled about the height. The weighs 100 pounds, tackled about the weight, has 3 shelves and 2 cabinets, costs $1,500. So as you can see, we have here the height, we have here the weight, and we have here the quantity. And these phrases are example of the quantitative data. Of course, as you can see, we have here at the top the data, of course, the quantitative or the numerical data, and the qualitative like the descriptive data. Since we have not already tackled about the qualitative data, let us here focus on the discrete and continuous under the quantitative data. So let us define it by the following. Continuous versus discrete data. Continuous and discrete data are types of the quantitative data. Do not be confused with the qualitative data because we haven't tackled it yet. So as you can see, the continuous is any value that is measured like 5.6, 2.489, and for example, temperature. Another in discrete data, a specific values. It is counted or countable like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like example, for example, number of cats. So let us proceed. Let us define discrete data. It can be assigned values such as 0, 1, 2, 3, and are said to be countable. The data obtained for this is by means of counting. So for you to not be confused with the term discrete, just keep in mind or instilled in your mind that discrete data from the quantitative data or under quantitative data is countable. And of course, for you to distinguish discrete data perfectly, we have here provided examples. Number of girls in a classroom, number of blue marbles in a bag, number of heads when flipping a coin, number of typos on a page. As you can see, these examples are all countable, so that it means it is a discrete data. Another we have example, number of eggs in a basket, number of kids in a class, number of Facebook likes, number of diaper changes in a day, number of wins in a season, number of votes in an election. Of course, again, these examples are all countable and is said to be discrete data. So we have here a lot, days with temperature such 45 degree. So as in the first statement or in the first example, do not be confused with the term temperature or the 45 degree, because in this phrase we are tackle about days and not with the temperature. So therefore it is called discrete data. So another number of late departures due to late boarding, it is discrete data of course. whether the tank is filled or not filled. Of course, you can figure it out. And of course, number of milestones on a road. It is all discrete. So since you have already known and you have already distinguished from the provided examples the discrete data, let us proceed now to the continuous data. Continuous data can assume an infinite number of values in an interval between any two specific values. The data for these are obtained by means of direct or indirect measuring. We have here an example, continuous random variables, height of boys in a class, weight of students in a class, amount of lemonade in jug, time it takes to run a race. So as you can see, these provided examples cannot be counted or uncountable. Therefore, it is said to be as continuous data. Another example for continuous data is or the weight difference to 8 decimals before and after cookie pinch, wind speed, water temperature, volts of electricity. And we have here another examples. Average daily temperature, number of minutes to board the plane, number of liters of milk in the tank, distance between the milestones on a road. So I hope you had already distinguished the discrete from the continuous data. We have here provided table for you to distinguish the key differences between continuous data and discrete data. A set of data is said to be continuous if the values belonging to the set can take on any value within a finite or infinite interval, and it is measured. While a set of data is said to be discrete if the values belonging to the set are distinct and separate, and it is counted.